Kodak Black should have never been on Drink Champs. What up, world? Your boy Charles Brown back again, talking facts. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell. Okay, man, you know what we do here? We talk facts. We tackle the hard subjects, and we are not afraid. We venture into the unknown with no fear, because I know quite a few of you are not going to agree with what I am about to say. A few weeks ago, Kodak Black, I want to say maybe last week and a half, Kodak Black was on Drink Champs, the legendary Drink Champs, with our favorite hosts, Nori and DJ EFN. And most of us old heads, quote unquote, have been watching Drink Champs for a little over 4 or 5 years, if I'm not mistaken. I believe Drink Champs came out, the very first episode was either Fat Joe or, not the very first episode. I'm going to say when they got their notoriety. The second episode, DMX, Fat Joe, in that order. I'm not sure who was first. I believe X was first, and he said a prayer, and then Fat Joe went on and blew the whole show up. But anyway, end of the day, this was about 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was. Back when everyone was telling Nori to get a podcast because he was such a phenomenal guest on anything he appeared on, including Breakfast Club, who Charlemagne is, I believe, behind Nori's podcast journey. And I would sit there and watch Nori on Breakfast Club. Complete interview. It could be 25 minutes, 45 minutes, doesn't matter. It was never long enough. Nori was always very engaging, intelligent, and hilarious, right? Even when he was being goofy, he was still engaging. And that part, he parlayed that into a podcast with DJ EFN out of Florida, out of I believe Miami. Drink Champs was a very original idea where they would have the guests come in and drink, which is what most people do when they get together. When they're not shooting a podcast, when you have your friends come over, you're going to drink. So what DJ EFN and Nori started doing was having people come in, take shots, answer questions, and talk, and it would loosen them up. And they had some of the most high profile and some of the most viral moments in hip hop itself over the last 5 years, from Kanye to, like I said, DMX to quite a few, Pusha T, quite a few of their interviews. When Diddy went on, and I believe it wasn't Mace, or who was that? Fabulous, when Fabulous and Diddy had their little thing about him being a little too frisky at these parties. There was some of the most viral moment, and Nori coined the phrase "giving them their flowers while they're still here to smell them." And I say all of that to say this is the only show geared toward elder statesmen, elder gentlemen, and women, Queen Latifah, people of that ilk, people clearly in their 40s, 50s, and in some cases 60s. You turn to Drink Champs for a older perspective, for a perspective of someone who knows what 80s hip hop is, maybe even knows what 70s hip hop is. You had guests on there that made sense, like Big Daddy Kane, KRS-One, who went viral, infamously went viral, for refusing to denounce Africa Bambaataa. These are moments that real hip hop heads will never forget. You just had MOP on there, right? Every single guest is royalty. They only had one fumble, in my opinion, was Amber Rose. I believe the Amber Rose interview should have never happened, but that's friends being friends, and we're going to talk about that. But I believe DJ Khaled was on it. So these are people who in some cases would not be getting interviewed anywhere else, and who need that shine. Eric Sermon and Lost Boys, different people. They need that moment in time. Some of them are not hot anymore. Most of them are not, quote unquote, whatever hot means to you. These are legendary guys who have put 20 plus years in the business, who have withstood the test of time, and their music is still legendary. They have songs that can be shown and performed in shows for the next 20 plus years to an older crowd, and they're still getting young fans, right? I say all that to say this show was built around the elder rapper and the elder hip hop fan. If you're giving people their flowers before they die, which is insinuating that this person is of an older generation, then that is what that should be. That show succeeded in spite of everything. The internet is perceived to be a young man's game. All of the young rappers were perceived when Drink Champs came out to have an upper edge, to be the rulers of the hip hop situation. And some of my elder statesmen have disappointed me by saying it's a young man's game. It is not a young man's game. I get it that it appears that way when the labels are only pushing young people and they're dropping old people. But we're seeing what's happening with these younger tours. They're starting to fall off. They are not getting the people in the building like we thought they would. And even these festivals of 20, 30 artists, they're becoming a huge showcase. I've been saying this for years. I used to do showcases, and the festivals are starting to look like, let's throw a whole bunch of stuff to the wall and see what sticks. And people are getting a little tired of it. They're just throwing 20, 30 acts on 2 stages, 3 stages, and they're just doing what the equivalent of a big local open mic. When meanwhile, Nas and Wu-Tang can go pack out stadiums from all across the country. So it's not a young man's game. And why I say that is it was perceived to be a young man's game, and a lot of these labels were feeding into that. Little do we know, these young guys' streams are being faked horrifically. A lot of the younger artists, these labels are bringing them in and faking their streams so they can look hotter than they are. So it's not that they're that hot. It's that they're being pushed to look that hot. So I say all that to say Drink Champs was created, in essence, because Nori's friends and Nori himself are all older. Nori's in his 40s. The rappers he knows are in his 40s. And what made the story so engaging is that he would talk to these people about personal experiences, things that we had no way of knowing about. And Nori knew these people intimately, so he would speak to them about stuff that we probably wouldn't even have the inside knowledge to know, to even ask. Years and years, Eric Sermon's talking about stuff that happened in the 90s. Everybody's talking about stuff that happened in the 90s. And I say all that to say, we're 7 minutes in, and I said all that to lay the groundwork to ask you, why would Kodak Black be on a show like this? I'm just going to pause for effect. Why would you have a man so young? He's not, I don't even think Kodak is even 30. If he's 30, right? If he's 30, please let me know how old he is. But I don't even think this is a kid. I'm not even going to get into how incoherent he was to me. And I read the comments. Kodak is so intelligent, right? And I get it. I'm just being I know it's going to be some people that get a little, they're going to get in their feelings. But I feel like when you build a show that becomes popular because of its audience, like me, who want to see elder statesmen get their flowers for real, I don't think you should be giving a 27-year-old guy his flowers. Right? Even if he's 30, I don't believe he's 30. But let's just, for shits and giggles, just imagine he's 30. He still don't belong on there. He hasn't done enough. He hasn't proven anything. I'm just going to be honest. Let's really talk about it. And I don't have no problem with Kodak Black. But Kodak spent half of his career in jail. Right? I'm just being a buck with you. So that doesn't disqualify him, but I'm like, first of all, you're not of the age requirement. You're going to bring all of your fans in who are going to leave because this isn't their kind of show. They're going to watch Kodak and then move on with their lives. They're never coming back to this channel. But the simple fact of the matter is I believe that Nori is friends. And not only that, Nori is looking for viral moments. These podcasts are constantly competing against each other. I've seen Wallow and Gilly do some extremely suspect interviews. It's extremely, in the name of going viral and in the name of keeping their numbers up. Some of their interviews are extremely like, why? Who is this? Why is he there? Right? So all of these guys, Rap Radar, they're all competing for these numbers, right? And they're starting to get outside of their character. Now, when Irv Gotti went on Drink Champs, he was begging Nori to have younger artists on there. And I was screaming at them. at my phone. Like, no, it doesn't need younger artists. He's like, they have a story. We don't care right now. Give them 20 more years. Give them 10 more years in the game. We don't need their story, especially when they can barely tell it. You got to speak Kodak to understand what he's even saying. I'm just keeping it a buck. And if he wasn't high on something, then that's even worse. That's more disturbing. Kodak could barely keep his eyes open. We are engaged with these people because these are elder statesmen who know how to speak. They know how to start, begin, and end a story coherently. They're not giving you short answers, and they're not speaking in slang the whole time. Older men know how to speak coherently and explain what they have to say. They know when you ask him Biggie or Nas or Cold Crush verse, whatever, they're going to know all of these questions. It's an older show. Kodak Black is too young to be on that show. I feel like Nori did this for views. And there's nothing wrong with doing stuff for views, but there's nothing wrong with me saying it and calling it out. Kodak Black should have never been on this show. He has nothing to add right now in this career. At this time, right? What's the takeaways from it? First of all, they got to drag answers out of him. That right there is a bad interview to me. If I'm pulling and dragging answers out of you, you're not a good interview guest. Then if you're nodding off, and then if you're speaking in a language that I can barely understand, and then you're not even talking about anything from my era. This is what this show's about. He can go interview with anybody. He doesn't have to be on Drink Champs. He doesn't belong there. If you're a big Kodak fan, there's nothing wrong with that. He could be anywhere. But he doesn't need to be on a show that's giving older men their flowers. Let's be honest. No one my age has a classic that they think Kodak has made. I'm just keeping it a buck. Where's his classic album to be on here? How much classic hip hop has he been involved with? How many dope features? How many dope verses has he done? How many experiences that has he had that we're going to be like, wow, that's amazing. I can't believe that. I used to always wonder what happened. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you got Tupac on here or somebody from that era. Like it's, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make any sense. And I am not hating. I'm just being 100% honest. Kodak Black should have never been on Drink Champs. Not yet. Not yet. Your biggest stories are you would give Trump $1 million. That's what we talking about. Like it's so much more that these artists bring to these stories that make much more sense than a young guy that is literally only on there because he can push the needle for views. That is not why you book guests for Drink Champs. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I wrong or am I right? Let me know. Is Kodak too young to be on there, or is it anything goes from now on? If that's the case, we might as well start putting anybody on there that got a record out right now. And I'm gonna put this out there. This is a warning. I was right when I said they were going to ruin Versus. Destroyed that thing in less than a year. I told you they were going to ruin Versus. And I promise you, if Drink Champs continues to put artists as young as Kodak, that show will fail. Because now the formula you had, the success you had, wasn't based on you being a regular ass show. It was a special show for special guests. And I'm going to leave it at that. CLBMG. Head over to CLBMG. We got merch. We got music. We got all kind of things going on. Click the sponsor. Show some love. CLBMG.com. I'm going to catch y'all on that flip side. Peace.
CLB.